Have you ever noticed how literally every company out there claims to want innovation, initiative, and ownership? It's practically plastered on every break room wall. But what actually happens when you propose a better way of doing things? Today, we are going to run a ruthless, totally objective diagnostic test on your organization. We're stripping away all those corporate buzzwords to look at the actual, raw mechanics of how a business reacts when someone tries to improve it. In this explainer, we're diving into a framework that separates the companies genuinely executing operational improvement from the ones that are just, well, engaging in pure innovation theater. So let's back up for a second. In our previous explainer, V42, we learned exactly how to track and price the hidden economic leaks that are just draining a business. We looked at the true costs of rework, delay, excessive support tickets, and lost capacity. Basically, we found the leaks, and we put a massive price tag on them. But here's the hard truth of the matter. Finding a $50,000 leak does absolutely nothing to fix it. Discovery is not correction. And that brings us to the exact bridge we need to cross today in V43. Because eventually, someone still has to step up and propose a better workflow, maybe a clearer handoff, or a brand new automation. And that is the exact moment an organization reveals its true colors. Will they actually let someone fix the leak? Or will the system just step in to protect the very inefficiency you just found? I want you to think about these two totally different worlds of workplace culture. On one hand, you have a fake innovation culture. You bring an idea, it gets immediately blocked by the old, well, we've always done it this way excuse. You revert to the same old process, and the company just keeps paying the exact same hidden cost. Now, contrast that with a real improvement system. An idea leads to a bounded test, which is measured, actually proves value, and then scales. One of these relies on endless, exhausting political arguments over whose opinion is better. The other? It just relies on evidence. Okay, so to find out which culture you're actually working in, we use what we call the two-gate innovation test. It's a core diagnostic tool. And honestly, it doesn't matter what your company's core values poster says in the hallway. A company has to pass through these two specific operational gates to prove that it actually supports continuous improvement. If it fails either gate, it's basically gradually teaching its most capable people to just stop trying. Right, so gate 1, can you test it? Listen, if you have a method that might reduce delivery time from 5 days down to 3, you shouldn't be asking for a complete organizational overhaul. You should just be asking for permission to run a small, measurable experiment. If management's answer is an automatic knee-jerk no, do not touch the process without a defensible reason, well, that tells you everything you need to know. The problem isn't that they rejected an idea, it's that they rejected the very mechanism of gathering evidence. This actually builds into a core operational framework. It's the sequence of a healthy improvement engine. It goes like this. You improve, test, measure, prove the value, share the upside, and repeat. What's truly powerful here is that flow. It forces ideas out of the realm of abstract theory and forces them into reality. Because a controlled test is absolutely always stronger than a mere opinion. It entirely stops those grueling 3-hour meeting debates and replaces them with real-world data. But look, to make that engine actually work, you have to design the test correctly. It must be strictly bounded as one small improvement. You've got to define the current baseline, like what happens today. You need a controlled test with a short time window. We're talking maybe just one team or just 1 week. You need a simple metric to define success. And, crucially, you need clear guardrails. Now, to be totally fair here, a manager rejecting an idea because it violates compliance or security, that doesn't mean you have a toxic culture. But having literally no testable path whatsoever, yeah, that is a massive red flag. And those guardrails, they're exactly what separates an actual improvement from total operational chaos. I mean, if we just measure speed, someone could cut delivery time in half, sure, but accidentally double the error rate in the process. That's obviously not an improvement. A proper before and after test uses primary metrics like faster delivery, right alongside guardrails like lower support tickets and less rework to ensure we are creating net positive value for the entire system. Okay, now we reach the second gate. Let's assume your experiment was a complete, total success. You followed the framework, the guardrails held up perfectly, and you just proved a method that will save the company a massive amount of time or money. The question is, if it works, who gets the upside? Does the organization actually recognize that measurable value creation? Or do you just get a firm handshake, a pat on the back with a great job, and then get sent right back to your exact same pay and authority level? Failing this gate exposes the really harsh math of misaligned incentives. When a company absorbs all the benefit of an improvement but gives absolutely nothing back to the creator, they create a terrible equation. It becomes more initiative equals more work plus more risk for the exact same reward. And over time, rational, intelligent people look at this math and they adapt. They realize extra value creation produces extra work, but no extra upside. So they simply stop volunteering to improve things. It's just human nature. This whole phenomenon is what we call the innovation tax. Companies literally accidentally tax their best system builders. Think about it. The employee who proposes the improvement is rewarded with more meetings, the entire burden of implementing the new process, the political risk if it happens to fail, and absolutely zero upside if it succeeds. It's like, congratulations on fixing the machine. Here's 10 more hours of administrative work as your prize. You are literally taxing the exact behavior you claim you want. Conversely, the organization unintentionally creates what we call a status quo subsidy, because doing absolutely nothing produces lower risk, zero conflict, and you guessed it, the exact same pay. It literally subsidizes stagnation. If management genuinely wants innovation, this incentive structure is entirely backwards. I mean, why would anyone stick their neck out to fix the plumbing when keeping your head down is explicitly subsidized? Now, we definitely need a strong dose of intellectual honesty here. This is not about employee entitlement. The golden rule here is measure before reward. You don't just get to walk in and say, hey, I had a great idea, give me a bonus. Measurable value, whether that's release capacity, higher retention, a lower support burden, or fewer errors, that must be strictly verified through the test before anyone asks to share the upside. We are rewarding proven value, for sure, not confidence, and definitely not self-promotion. But when you do align these incentives properly, you empower the system builder. You finally shift away from those individual heroics, the one brilliant employee manually pulling late nights just to save the day every single week. Instead, you move toward people who build the system itself. The system builder removes bottlenecks, they write procedures that prevent recurring errors, and they make outcomes totally repeatable. They take a fleeting individual insight and convert it into a permanent organizational capability. Individual improvements actually become standards, training, and automation. Let's contextualize this for a second with what's happening right now out in the market. Routine execution, it's rapidly becoming cheaper and highly commoditized, largely thanks to AI and automation. Doing the repetitive task just isn't the premium skill anymore. Because of that, human value is moving straight up the stack towards system improvement. Companies that block their system builders aren't just frustrating their staff, they are making themselves structurally obsolete in an automated world. So how exactly do we force that internal truth? Well, enter the negative price ultra guarantee, represented by the -1 standard. It essentially means that if the seller fails to deliver promised value to the customer, they don't just give a refund, they pay a penalty. They go -1. This makes customer value failure highly economically visible. It acts as massive external accountability pressure that travels directly inward. Because when that external penalty exists, that -1, makes stagnation incredibly expensive. Suddenly, internal inefficiency isn't just an abstract operational annoyance anymore. It costs hard cash. Delays cost money. Repeated mistakes trigger penalties. Excuses cost money. This external consequence quite literally forces the company to stop ignoring weak systems and actually start caring about what works and what prevents customer failure. So the absolutely crucial point here is this. If failure has a price, improvement needs an upside. Now, the -1 standard doesn't magically create a perfect meritocracy or just automatically calculate fair compensation for you. What it does do is create intense pressure for better governance. If a company is going to be penalized for bad processes, it mathematically must align its internal incentives to reward the people who fix those processes. To actually put this into practice, you can use diagnostic tools like the improvement ledger, NegBook, and the -1 diagnostic. The ledger, for instance, tracks the whole shebang: the problem, the proposed change, the test window, your primary metric, and those crucial guardrails, the final result, the verifiable value created, and finally, exactly how that upside is shared. Whether you are an employee pitching a fix or a manager evaluating one, these tools turn innovation from a silly personality contest into a completely objective, evidence-based process. And that brings us right back to our final thought for today. The true nature of your workplace incentive alignment? It's not found in some glossy mission statement. It's found in the actions. Do they let you test it? Do they actually measure it? And if it creates value, do they share the upside? Take a really hard look at how your organization answers those questions. Don't ask whether your company says it wants innovation. Ask what happens when someone proves a better way.